With Congress now back in Washington, there's a renewed focus on the upcoming Senate climate legislation. We expect the Kerry, Graham, Lieberman bill could be unveiled sometime over the next 3 months. But now, the #2 Democrat on the Energy Committee says he has doubts that the Senate will vote on a climate bill anytime this year. Clean Skies Tyler Suiters heard Byron Dorgan issue that prediction today. So let's be clear, Dorgan does not say that the House is going to completely ignore clean energy issues.
Yeah, exactly, Susan. Byron Dorgan today said that there will be a vote on an energy bill this year. And he says, quite frankly, that bill will contain so many provisions about clean energy and low carbon issues and policies that we will act to some degree like a climate bill. Dorgan also said that he hopes his Energy and Natural Resources Committee's Acela bill, which passed out of that committee back in June, will be what he calls an early visitor to the Senate floor in 2010. But he was also very clear today that he thinks, in his opinion, a floor vote on a climate bill, the much awaited climate bill, will not happen this year.
My own sense is that in the aftermath of a very, very heavy lift on health care, I think it is unlikely that the Senate will turn next to a very complicated and very controversial subject of cap and trade, climate change kind of legislation. It's just my judgment. I think it's very hard to turn to that.
Now, Dorgan was also asked during this conference call about Senator Lisa Murkowski's effort to prevent the EPA regulation of CO2. And Dorgan said, like most of his fellow members, he supports legislation versus regulation. But he said today, could I support an amendment like that? Possibly, but he was very clear to say he doesn't have the foggiest idea of exactly what Murkowski will propose. And on that note, Susan, earlier today I talked to the Republican Energy Committee, the staff members who are really out on front for Murkowski on this issue, and they said it's very clear no decision has been reached yet on how to proceed with that amendment. Okay,
so regardless of Dorgan's opinion, the final decision here rests with Harry Reid.
Exactly. Let's be clear that it's all up to him. No matter what his various senators say, Harry Reid has the final decision, and he wants a floor vote sometime this year. We've outlined his plan before. He wants to combine the clean energy bill that the Senate Energy Committee passed in June with some version of a climate bill, but probably not the one that passed out of the Environment and Public Works Committee late last year. Now, in 2009, Harry Reid had floated the idea of a floor vote before the end of '09, but that was before healthcare got so messy and Capitol Hill was so bogged down with that issue. Well, after hearing Senator Dorgan's prediction today during that conference call, I spoke with the Majority Leader's office, and he is standing by his energy and climate plan for this year. Now, the office referred me to his comments last week during a geothermal conference in New York City, and Reid referred to the Waxman-Markey House bill specifically, saying that it is a comprehensive clean energy and climate bill that does many of these things. I support addressing each of these issues in the Senate version, and I expect that to happen this spring, meaning 2010. He continued, we have a lot on our plate right now in the Senate, but we are not so busy that we can't find the time to address comprehensive energy and climate legislation. Now, regarding that term, a lot on our plate, Harry Reid made specific references to health care, financial issues, and the economy. So with big umbrella issues like that, Susan, energy and the environment should fit right in there if it can move quickly enough.
Okay, so let's talk about why Dorgan is bringing up the climate and energy bills right now. He's pushing for new offshore exploration off the Gulf.
Exactly, and I referred to this conference call, Susan, a couple of times today. That's because Byron Dorgan took part in this call along with the SAFE Coalition, also the Energy Security Leadership Council. These groups combined to issue a report today. This pushes both legislative and military credibility behind this issue of new offshore exploration for natural gas and oil in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. The report cited MMS mean estimates that the eastern Gulf has almost 4 billion barrels of oil and 21.5 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. Now, one of the main conclusions of this report today, quoting now, there is no credible evidence that expanded oil and natural gas exploration and development in the eastern Gulf would adversely affect military missions in that area. And that may be a key to opening up the eastern Gulf, the military aspect. And that is certainly a key for Florida's Bill Nelson, the senator who is very much opposed to this idea. Looking on his website, he has a very strong comment about this, saying much of the eastern Gulf is, and we're quoting, the last remaining training range for our military pilots. Give that up to what he calls the oil boys, and you sacrifice national security. Today I asked Dorgan specifically about his fellow senators' very staunch opposition to new exploration in the eastern Gulf.
This report this morning is very important because Senator Nelson continues to talk about the urgency of stopping this amendment and this approach to drilling in the Gulf because of the military considerations. The report that has been done today is very important because it's really the first detailed analysis of what are the merits of that argument. And I think the report says, you know what, this is we can coexist with military training and oil and gas development in the Gulf of Mexico.
Now, as for Dorgan's main horse in this energy bill race, he has an amendment that did pass through the Energy Committee within the Acela bill, that clean energy bill, to open up the Eastern Gulf for oil and natural gas development more than 45 miles offshore of Florida. Well, back to Senator Nelson, who says at the time that this passed, and he was actually in the room during the committee markup of this bill, he said he would filibuster the entire clean energy bill because of that single amendment that Dorgan proposed and was in turn passed. But according to the Energy Committee's minority staff, there's a memorandum of understanding that is already in place right now that requires Pentagon approval for any nearby energy development. Well, today, Colonel Marty Sullivan, who is retired Marine Corps personnel and now a consultant that had to do with this report, said the Pentagon up until now had no way of assessing the potential impact of mineral development for oil and natural gas in that training range. Susan, he said now it does have that assessment and we should go forward. Both the Air Force and the Navy, he says, have signed off on
Now,
this.
is Nelson calling for more environmental studies, or are both sides?
Oh, he doesn't want anything, Susan. I think
he
he's flat out opposed to the entire thing. Going back to his website, where his position is stated very clearly, he says that this is, as he referred to, the oil boys. This is about big oil. He wants the military to have free reign over this area. He calls into question national security. And he does recognize the need for new oil development within the U.S. I think he just wants it somewhere other than off the shore of his home state, which is such a popular tourist area. Right. We're talking about 45 miles offshore under this Dorgan amendment. But still, Nelson is more inclined to blame what he calls excessive speculation in the oil markets for the rise in prices rather than necessary shortage. So something he says must be done. Just don't do it in my home state.
Right. No distance is far enough for him.
I think that's a safe assessment. Yeah.
All right. Tyler Suiters, thank you. Of course.